Rohit, it's good to see you. As I said, Elon dives in when he wants to. Do you expect this to grow, the nature of this stake?
It's hard to speculate what's in Elon's mind, but if you look at, as in he's a very active Twitter user, so clearly he sees value in the service they provide. He's putting money where his mouth is, so he clearly sees that Twitter is undervalued. And I think based on what he's doing, polling Twitter users on content moderation, I think he sees that Twitter can become better. So if you tie these two or three things, I feel there is going to be more active dialogue between Musk and Twitter management and board. There should be. He's the largest shareholder. And if they haven't already, probably they must get on the phone with Musk and hash things out over the next years and months to come.
Right. The notion of improving Twitter's free speech principles, which is his main complaint on Twitter at least, versus what advertisers crave. Can both things be remedied in a way that makes those two constituencies happy?
In a way, I feel there is a greater need for spreading misinformation and stopping misinformation on Twitter, and as with many other social media platforms, while treading the fine line that companies like Twitter will not be viewed as publishers. We have Section 230 looming behind companies like Twitter very, very closely. So they need to tread a fine line. I feel there is a way that companies can do it, but it's a much harder problem to solve. And with the scale at which content misinformation is spreading, I think it's just getting harder and harder. And with Twitter's smaller scale, I think it's even more expensive. So it could be solved, but it is a hard problem to solve and probably a bit expensive given the velocity of information on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, you have a new CEO at the helm. You have a company that has set out ambitious goals over the next 2 years or so. I realize you have a buy rating on the stock. Does this just, when you have somebody like Musk involved, whether it's passively or potentially down the road actively, not to speculate, does this just add to the buy thesis here, or does this actually add risk?
Longer term, if Musk is involved actively in Twitter, if Musk can bring around a turnaround in Twitter, which again, if you look at what Twitter is telling the street with regards to their 23 targets, very few people on the street, even with buy ratings, believe that Twitter can get there. So 23 targets could move towards the actual targets that Twitter has put out. And that in and of itself is a bullish sign. Right now, many people like me on the street have models much below what Twitter is telling the street. So if there is a pathway that Twitter can give greater confidence to the street that, yes, we can get to our targets and this is how we can get over the next 6 to 8 quarters, I think that's a bullish sign, and probably Musk helps them get there with clarity of execution.